The Faculty of Medical Sciences invites you, women and girls in science, to a symposium towards the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And this event will also feature the Science Princess. We'll find out who that is exactly. Joining us on set, we have the Chair, Symposium Organizing Team Lecturer, the University of the West Indies, Dr. E. Monica Davis, and also the United Nations Resident Coordinator, Mr. Richard Blewett. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you all doing?
Very well.
It's a good week.
Yes, it's a great week, in fact. What are your thoughts as we celebrate International Women's Day as a society? Have we progressed?
We have progressed, but I don't think quickly enough, or I don't think we have advanced further enough. We have lots more to do.
Yes, we have.
But
a lot more
luckily,
to do.
we have men on board now, so that will make it
We
easier.
do. Very important. What are your thoughts, and how important is the role of men in society?
Well, I think it's very important to sort of change attitudes and to confront power imbalance that exists in society. At the end of the day, it's remarkable this week to see the activism, the debates, the engagement of mainly women, but a few men talking about gender equality and how Trinidad and Tobago has progressed and what more to do. But then you hear the sort of negative stories from the Rape Crisis Centre that still women can't get protection and safety if they report abuse. They don't trust the police. The judicial system is too slow. We obviously hope that the government is going to put in place the gender policy after a long time in abeyance to really set a framework to inspire the next phase of modernization of the country.
Yes, indeed, a power imbalance, very, very important. So we are talking about women and girls in science and a particular symposium. What is this symposium about?
Okay. I need to start off with saying that there is a United Nations Day for Women and Girls in Science, which has been celebrated for 3 years at the United Nations. And this was brought about by our keynote speaker, Her Royal Highness Princess Dr. Nisreen El Hashimite. So I was recently at that commemoration, participating in it. And prior to that, when I went to the first one, I said, you know what, we need to do something like this in the Caribbean. And I say the Caribbean because I don't just mean Trinidad and Tobago. And so that's how it was developed. So basically, even though the name suggests that it's only women and girls, clearly wherever you have women and girls, you have men and boys. Mm-hmm. But it's just to focus on the progression of more women and girls getting involved in science. And if you get involved at an early age, which is why we must have the girls, then we feel that it will augur well for the entire society.
And how do you feel about that in terms of women and girls being involved in science? Do you notice, or have you noticed, a decline in that area?
I think a lot of girls, particularly here in the Caribbean and in Trinidad, are interested in science and progress well in school. But if you look at the global statistics, they're not good. 5% of the academic academies staff and members are women. 95% are men. 30% of the world's scientific researchers are women. 70% are men. 20% of the world's innovation centers have women, and 80% of them are men. So, what's stopping women getting to the levels where they can actually help transform the world? I mean, we need to mix science with sustainable development if we're going to face and confront the challenges the world has on climate change and many other challenges that we're facing. So we've got to find a way to understand those barriers and then deal with and provide opportunities and inspiration to enable girls and women to really progress in this agenda.
Those are some startling statistics. I mean, why do you think this is the case? Why are young women are not really drawn towards sciences worldwide?
I'm not sure if it's that they're not drawn to it. They actually reach very far, but then when it comes to the crunch, if you have to choose between a man and a woman, historically they choose the man. This happens, I know this happens. Part of it is opportunity. The desire is there in many cases. I remember when I was in high school doing A-levels, I was the only girl in physics.
Oh yes, physics.
One of two in chemistry,
true.
but I'm talking about sciences basically.
Yes, yes.
But I was happy that the other day when I was in NASA, I saw a class, I think it was an O-level class, whatever you call it now, CXC class, I'm dating myself, that had 50% girls in the class. And that was a physics class. So I said, oh, things are improving.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I think in Trinidad we've seen a lot of women rising to the
Yeah.
top in academics as well,
Yeah.
even in doing their masters and that sort of thing.
In
A
fact,
lot of,
people say that, why are you focusing on women and girls? The men are being marginalized. The men and boys are being marginalized. But it's not about that. It's not about reverse marginalization. It's about involvement and coming together for the benefit of the country and the region.
so let's talk about what's on the agenda for this particular symposium. What can we
Oh,
expect?
I don't think we have enough time to talk about all the stuff that's on the agenda. But suffice it to say that after the opening ceremony, and we're happy and very privileged to have the Minister of Education opening the proceedings, opening officially, yes. So Mr. Blewett here will roll it off, and then we'll have the principal of the campus, PVC Professor Brian Copeland,
Yes.
who himself is an engineer and an innovator. So we're absolutely happy that he made the time for this. We'll have background information. Then we'll have one of our youth, but she'll be giving a video message from abroad. She's 11 years old, and she's like, they call her the little science princess. So she's going to be sending a video message, and then she'll zoom in live on the panel discussion.
Yes.
Right after her will be Her Royal Highness Princess. Little Princess is almost a protege of her. So she will do her keynote address. But we're going to have the official opening with the minister and the princess jointly doing this. We will have female engineer, speaking of the changing face of engineering and from a gender perspective. We're going to have people talking about climate change. We're going to have a young group of students from Nassau talking about the fact that they created and built a solar car and took it to the US to race it. So we'll see that video as well. And we're also going to be having speed mentoring, which is interesting, and we get a lot of active involvement. And we're having also panel discussions. We're going to have an all-female panel led by Professor Rhoda Reddock, whom everybody knows. We'll have 5 wonderful female scientists, and they will each give a short talk, and then they'll have a panel discussion, a Q&A to involve the audience. And then we'll have a all-male panel led by Dr. Brian Coburn, who is the Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology. And the principal will be part of that panel. And a lot of a few young people on that as well. And of course, our Dean, the Faculty of Medical Sciences, Professor Terence Simangal, will be in the beginning also making remarks which will be useful.
Wow.
There's a few more things, but I can't give everything away.
Is it a one-day event?
Just one day. The princess will be here for a week, but we have made a representation to the Ministry of Education to have her tour a few schools, both on the island of Trinidad and Tobago. And we're also hoping that there'll be some interaction with some members of some women's groups to involve her and give the opportunity for them to discuss with her.
When is it, and how, and who is invited?
The symposium itself is on Sunday, day after tomorrow, March 11th. It's at the Learning Resource Center at the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus, and all are invited. And when we say all, we mean all.
And it's a free event?
We're so happy to have UNDP partnering with us in this. It is starting at 8:30. There's going to be pre-registration, and we'll be finished by 3:10, thereabouts. But all children, and we don't expect children to come with their teachers in school uniforms, but please, parents, bring children of all ages, because the earlier we get children involved, whether it's boys or girls, the better it augurs for us in the Caribbean region to get our name out there. We have some famous people out there, but we need some more.
Mr. Blewett, what role would you be fulfilling at this particular symposium?
Well, I mean, I'm just very inspired by Monica and the way she's structured this event. We've been speaking about it for a long time, and I think it's a way to sort of bring International Women's Week in a way towards a positive end around opportunity for young girls, boys, women in Trinidad and Tobago to talk about their role in science. You've got, a few years ago, and she's come backwards and forwards, you have this very famous Trini Camille Aline, who is works in NASA, and she's come, and she's been very inspiring in actually getting Trinidadian women and men to realize where you can reach. And I don't know if you've watched the film that was done of the Afro-Caribbean women in NASA in the 60s who helped, produce the trajectory to get a man on the moon, ironically a man, of course, but they're the women who actually created the opportunity for a man to land on the moon. So the Caribbean is full of opportunity. The new head of the physics department at the University of West Indies, Dr. Shirin Haque, is an inspiration because there we've broken another ceiling. So I think this event is about inspiration. The speed mentoring is going to be also about young people mentoring and helping the other generation think about the opportunities of science and technology. So it's a kind of mentoring in both directions. So I'm very much looking forward to a very creative day this Sunday, and I really urge as many people to come as possible.
What are your closing comments? What would you like to say to those looking on?
I would like to say, please come. It's going to be amazing. It's free. It's a Sunday. You can relax, and we're going to finish on time, so you can go home and you can still have that extra Sunday lunch, because we will provide light refreshments and have a relaxing day. But it's going to be so empowering for the young people and the not so young as well, because there's so much. And actually, Dr. Shirin Haque is part of our panel. Unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, she's out of the country doing other work, but she's going to be providing a video message, and she will be zooming in to be part of the panel. So I'd like to invite one and all ages, all backgrounds. Science is a part of us. We are a part of science, and without it, we will not be sustainable at all.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here today. It's a pleasure having you all.
Thank you.
All right, so we've been chatting with Dr. E. Monica Davis and Mr. Richard Blewett on the topic of women and girls in science, and it's not just women and girls. So we have a lot to look forward to at that event on Sunday.